Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Zem Stories. I know the title of today's video may have caught your attention, and trust me, you're in for a fascinating discussion. We're going to dive into a topic that's often misunderstood, full of psychology, human behavior, and societal expectations. Today, we're going to talk about why sometimes married women are seen as vulnerable targets in certain situations and how it ties into deeper psychological truths. But before we start, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more thought-provoking videos like this one. Now let's get into it. Let's start with a simple yet complex question. Why are married women sometimes seen as easier to target or manipulate? It's not an easy thing to talk about, but if we break it down, there are several psychological and social dynamics at play that are often overlooked. And here's the thing, we're not talking about anything malicious here, but more about human behavior and how it operates in relationships. When we think about relationships, there's this idea that once someone gets married, they are in a committed partnership, right? This idea creates an emotional and social contract. And in many cases, married individuals, particularly women, might find themselves in situations where they feel trapped, uncertain, or disconnected from their partner in certain ways. Now, this is not to say that marriage is inherently problematic, but it's the way that psychological needs can go unmet that opens up certain vulnerabilities. Let's talk about the neglect factor. When you're in a committed relationship for a long time, there's a tendency for things to become routine. Communication becomes predictable. Intimacy might start to fade. And for some people, this can lead to feelings of loneliness or dissatisfaction. Now, this is where things get interesting. When a person feels emotionally unfulfilled in one area of their life, they might become more susceptible to seeking attention elsewhere. And here's the thing about human nature. We all crave attention. It's a basic psychological need. So when a married woman feels like she's not getting the emotional validation, appreciation, or affection she needs from her partner, she might be more inclined to accept compliments or emotional attention from someone outside the marriage. This isn't necessarily about looking for trouble or being unfaithful, but more about filling a void that's been created due to a lack of emotional connection. And this makes sense, right? We're all just looking to be seen, to feel valued, to feel special. Now let's talk about another psychological concept, validation seeking. When someone, particularly a married woman, feels overlooked or undervalued, it creates an emotional gap, and this gap can be a powerful motivator for people to look for validation elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean that the woman is unhappy with her partner or marriage. It's simply a human desire to feel seen, admired, and acknowledged. In some cases, this can result in what many refer to as attention-seeking behavior, which might appear harmless at first. But when someone is constantly looking for external validation, whether it's through social media or even from someone they don't know very well, it creates an imbalance. This is when those outside the relationship may notice that this person is more approachable, more open, or more vulnerable to manipulation, and this can make them a target for individuals who understand the psychological triggers. However, it's important to note that not every married woman is vulnerable in this way. The reality is that people in relationships who feel emotionally supported, appreciated, and connected to their spouse are much less likely to seek attention from others. It's all about emotional security, and when that's intact, there's little room for others to intrude. And let's be real. When we're talking about why married women might be targeted in certain ways, we also have to consider societal pressures and stereotypes. There's a stereotype that married women are happily settled, and this can lead some people to think they have everything they need, making them more vulnerable to manipulation. But that's a myth. In reality, relationships, like anything else, require constant effort, communication, and emotional work. The assumption that someone is out of reach because they're married can sometimes make them even more of a target for people looking to exploit vulnerabilities. So, what's the takeaway here? It's not about blaming anyone or suggesting that marriage automatically makes someone a target. It's about understanding the complexities of human behavior, emotional neglect, seeking validation, societal expectations, and unspoken needs all play a huge role in how relationships function and how individuals behave. It's about recognizing that in a world where emotional fulfillment is so often tied to external factors, even the strongest people can sometimes find themselves at risk of being manipulated, whether they're married or not. At the end of the day, every person, regardless of their relationship status, deserves to be seen, heard, and respected. Healthy communication and emotional connection are the bedrock of any successful relationship, and understanding human psychology can only help us navigate these complex dynamics in a more positive and empathetic way. So what do you think? Have you ever considered the deeper psychological factors that contribute to relationship dynamics? Or perhaps you've experienced a situation where emotional neglect or validation seeking played a role in your relationships. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And remember, the truth is out there, and it's often more complicated than we think.